the shrimp farms have become a major obstacle for the fisheries regaining their foothold. And matter of fact, they're almost like dealing a death blow to it. I know right now about 90% of the shrimp eaten in the United States is provided by shrimp farms. And the general public doesn't realize that, they go to Red Lobsters or they go to one of these seafood places and they think they're eating good old homegrown wild Texas shrimp, and actually it's from Ecuador or Vietnam or South America. And so one, you have the Texas fishermen or the American fishermen that are having to fight these imports that come from these shrimp farms, and they've already shown that these shrimp farms are very destructive. Like, you get these huge, they're almost like ponds, and because you need this huge amount of water, they get them very close to the coast. So they have absolutely destroyed whole mangroves. I know when I went to Taiwan and they had shrimp farms, and because it uses so much water, you start running scarce on water. So what they ended up doing, instead of pulling in fresh water, they were using contaminated water, and they were flooding the same type of contaminated water over and over again. And you not only have antibiotics that are added to these shrimp that you're going into these basins to make them grow, to make them uniform, but you also, what they really have a problem with, they've got all these viruses, and some of them will absolutely species jump. So they not only destroy and kill the shrimp crop, but they can species jump. Like, if you have a shrimp farm that's on the edge of the water and they escape, and they're exotic shrimp, and they get out and they have this type of virus that species jump, is they can jump from shrimp, they can jump to the crab, they can jump to the fish. And it's just like chemicals that you put out into the environment. It's like, they don't know what these viruses do. It's like they don't know what these chemicals do. And so you have got no idea what you are setting loose. But it's like the bottom line is profit. And I know it's a huge profit. And, and like a lot of the shrimp imported into the United States, there's no tariffs on it. There's no taxes on it. And so shrimpers, what it boils down to, shrimpers are getting paid like what they were getting 4 decades ago. They're getting 80 cents for some big shrimp. And and there is, I don't believe there's any other occupation that you can be getting the same thing for your product that you were getting 20 years ago. I don't think there's another single occupation. It goes up with inflation. You can at least feed your kids and pay your boat payments, and the shrimpers can't do it. They cannot afford to do that. And I know just right across the San Antonio Bay right here there's a shrimp farm there, and they put in this huge ponds, and there was we were trying to fight the permitting because we were afraid about these exotic shrimp getting out and and they already had viruses. They had viruses in Brownsville, and they had some viruses in the Palacios ones, and we were afraid of these having viruses too. And in Parks and Wildlife, and all these agencies were gun-ho on getting them there. They saw this as economic development, and the thing of it is the man was over there putting in shrimp crops, and he wasn't even permitted. And you can always tell they're doing it because you can see the birds, because the birds on the bay, when they start hitting the water, they see shrimp, and they're going after the shrimp. And all you had to do is look across the bay or get pretty close to it, and you could see all of these birds working. But the man was so isolated is that nobody knew what he was doing. There was nobody checking on what he was doing. So he could pretty much do exactly what he wanted. And, and all these, there have huge discharges. I think the discharge of the shrimp farm in Palacios, it amounted to the flow of a river. And you've got all of this sediment and this possible viruses, and you got shrimp escaping, and you got bacteria, and you got all these type of chemicals that they have to use to try to kill and contain some of this stuff. And it's just going right out there into the Gulf of Mexico.